Top story this evening, of course, the Health Minister is on special leave. The Presidency says this is to allow the Minister to attend to the allegations regarding the contracts between the Health Department and service provider Digital Vibes. The Special Investigating Unit probing that matter. They're due to finalise their report by the end of the month. Let's bring in the journalist who broke the Digital Vibes story on the Daily Maverick. Pieter-Louis Myburgh is an investigative journalist and author. Thank you so much for your time this evening. You know, you've done a lot of work and you keep delivering more exposés. What did you feel when you heard that the Health Minister was going on special leave today?
Good evening, Sally. Good evening to your viewers. Yeah, look, there's always a sense of vindication that the reports or the reporting that we did at Daily Maverick was accurate. A minister would not fall on his own sword in the sense, although it took a while to get there, if the allegations and information in our reports weren't accurate and damning enough. So it's always a good verification of the power of investigative journalism in terms of bringing these important public interest issues to light and through these reports to ensure that there's the necessary accountability as far as these kind of dealings are concerned.
All right, so is there more to come, I have to ask, because Ferial Hafaji, your colleague, writing an article today, suggested there might be.
Yeah, look, my work, for instance, is definitely ongoing in this regard. I think it's a very complex contract in a sense. There's a lot of moving parts. We're still looking at some of the billings for which the company Digital Vibes charged the department and for which they were paid. You know, of course, we've already underpinned some very questionable invoices, for instance, those pertaining to charging the department merely for hosting or having the minister go on SABC and announcing South Africa's second wave of COVID-19 infections. But there's certainly a whole lot more to uncover in regards to this contract.
You know, the Minister is saying he's apologised for all the interruption and disruption that it's caused, for the distress it's caused, and you can see that he's a man under enormous personal pressure. Your reporting is pointing to family members, his son and his wife, and even the family home having potentially benefited from these contracts. I think what the South African public has battled to deal with is that he seemed like a real leader in the midst of a pandemic, someone who was one of the good guys, and I think we still like to hold to the good versus the bad. And let's be fair, it's innocent until proven guilty. But from the body of work you've done unearthing this, do you think that there might still be a plausible explanation that the minister might not have known what was going on?
I sincerely doubt that, Sally. I think I would invite the public to expand their memories as far as a character like Mkhize goes. It's all well and good to view somebody or place him on a podium because for that point in time he's merely managing a national health crisis and through that process buying some political capital and a good image. But indications of Mkhize's corruption have been swirling for many years. There's a body of work. People can go and Google and look at what Bongani has been writing, other media outlets since his days as an MEC in the province and then also in his position as Treasurer General. I think that's the first thing I'd like to highlight. I think we too easily as South Africans place some of these political figures on these podiums which are very unrealistic, or they bring about very unrealistic expectations, especially in light of early indications of corruption. And as far as Minister Mkhize, or the plausible deniability, I'm very sceptical. That 7,000 Rand payment I highlighted in the one report, albeit very small, is a direct link from this corrupt contract to the minister's own benefit. It was to the benefit of a property that he owned beneficially through his trust. So he is a beneficiary of a corrupt contract and thereby should be, I suppose, eventually charged for corruption.
Pieter-Louis, you know, you've also, of course, written a book on what happened in the Free State and the corruption there. You detailed that painstakingly. And I'm wondering if you see any sort of ray of hope. You know, if we see, for example, Gupta associate Iqbal Sharma today denied bail in Bloemfontein, you know, the magistrate saying, look, he's just too much of a flight risk. Do you see positive green shoots, to use the president's phrase, or do you just get more and more depressed the more research you do into corruption.
Yeah. You know, I think what is particularly depressing about this latest Digital Vibes scandal is the fact that it happened not only during a pandemic, but it happened in an era where we have the Zondo Commission sort of, going back and reflecting on what supposedly was something that had happened in the past, this era of gross corruption under former President Jacob Zuma. And despite all these, indications coming to the fore, and this concurrent kind of idea that we had parked state capture in the past and we had now moved on, despite all of that, a department as important as the Department of Health and somebody like Minister Mkhize could still become embroiled in a scandal of this magnitude. I think that is quite depressing. But having said that, I think what does give hope is the speed at which the National Prosecuting Authority, or the, I suppose, increasing speed at which the MPA and some of the other law enforcement bodies are dealing with these indications of corruption. I think it's about 4 months since we first exposed the Digital Vibes scandal, and Minister Mkhize is now out of the office. That is actually quite a fast turnaround time if you consider the total lack of accountability that we had seen in previous years around some of these corrupt deals.
All right, thank you so much for chatting to us this evening. That was Daily Maverick investigative journalist and author Pieter-Louis Myburgh there.